Is Kamala Harris a friend of Israel? Well, after she ditched Netanyahu's address to Congress to speak at a sorority event, yep, you heard that right, Kamala thought a sorority speech was more important than the Prime Minister of Israel's address to Congress during a time of war. She then did meet him, and her account of this meeting should terrify any friend of Israel. Every single sentence she utters is going to outrage you.
What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent.
Her framing of the Gaza war, an unavoidable response to the October 7th atrocities, focuses on dead Palestinian children and tells Americans they can't look away. But she didn't employ this emotional language to describe the butchering of Israeli children or the kidnapping of babies and Holocaust survivors. Kamala has clearly picked a side. As for being silent, it took her 5 days to even mention the October 7th massacre. 5 days. When she finally publicly spoke, she claimed to
restate our commitment that is unwavering to stand with Israel.
And then when it came to standing with Israel, she couldn't even be bothered to turn up at Congress when Netanyahu spoke, never mind actually standing with Israel. She then continued.
Thanks to the leadership of our President Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. And it is important that we recall what the deal involves. The first phase of the deal would bring about a full ceasefire, including a withdrawal of the Israeli military from population centers in Gaza. In the second phase, the Israeli military would withdraw from Gaza entirely, and it would lead to a permanent end to the hostilities.
So wait, her solution is that Israel should disengage from Gaza in return for its kidnapped citizens? We disengaged from Gaza in 2005, and what happened next? Hamas carried out the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. What in her plan would prevent another October the 7th, which, by the way, Hamas has vowed to repeat?
الإسرائيلية لازم نأدبها وحنأدبها مرة ثانية وثالثة ومش هذا حتكون طوفان الأقصى أول مرة لا حتكون ثانية وثالثة ورابعة.
Now back to her speech.
So to everyone who has been calling for a ceasefire and to everyone who yearns for peace, I see you and I hear you.
And there you have it. Kamala doesn't see the kidnapped babies or the slaughtered Holocaust survivors. She never mentions them once. Instead, she sees her voter base, the violent mobs marching against Israel in American streets, burning the American flag and terrifying Jews. She speaks of peace, but she speaks of it with the intellectual maturity of a schoolgirl. Peace is not a pause in the violence. The only way peace will be achieved is through a fundamental de-radicalization of Palestinian society. Today, the overwhelming majority of Palestinians support Hamas and what they did on October the 7th. If you truly stand for peace, you stand against Hamas, not with them.
And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. And I know right now it is hard to conceive of that prospect, but a two-state solution is the only path that ensures Israel remains a secure Jewish and democratic state, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve.
So let me get this straight. Her response to Gaza's government invading Israel and committing their monstrous acts is to reward them with a state? In 2005, when Israel left Gaza, the Palestinians had the opportunity to create a prosperous enclave with the billions of dollars that they received in aid. But instead, they fortified Gaza and developed an army capable of massacring Israelis, which is exactly what they did. Does she really believe that disengaging again and establishing a state would somehow produce a different result? An Israeli commentator, Adin Haken, points out, even if a two-state solution was imposed by America,
In the best case scenario, it will only diffuse the conflict for about 5-10 years. But what next? What will happen when Hamas or any other organization will try to recreate October 7? We will at best just return to the same starting point at October 6.
In short, Palestinian statehood will not lead to peace. This is an ideological issue. As long as the Palestinians believe that they have a right to Jerusalem, Haifa, and Tel Aviv, and that they could conquer them somehow, there will never be peace. The two-state solution didn't die on October the 7th, it died on September the 26th, 1937, when the Arab High Committee rejected a Jewish state on just 3.5% of British Mandatory Palestine. Since then, they've said no to every single two-state solution. The two-state solution is dead and buried. It's time for Western nations to open up to other solutions instead of repeating the same failed approach that they have for the last century. As for Kamala, if she is the next president, Israel may have lost its greatest ally.